And if you want to share some information with us before you get started. Oh, sorry, Christina. Board had asked us to, I know everybody has heard about Family to Family Network. It is a wonderful resource for the community. And so we're going to give you some feedback about, we're going to talk about Family to Family Network before we get into the presentation. Go ahead, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We just want to remind everybody about what we do in Family to Family Network. Some of you might be new here for maybe it's the first time you join us in an event, and we're glad you do. And what we want to tell you about is what we generally do. We're a nonprofit organization, and we work with parents of children with disabilities, and also with self-advocates, which are adults with disabilities. So you know how to handle the complex education systems, the relationship with them, all the healthcare systems that are out there. Social services, we can give you some guidance about that, the benefits that you might not have heard about from government, public services, or even from other organizations that might be able to help in an issue you have with a member of your family that has a disability. We do some case management too, and we also have programs to plan ahead for the future. When you have a child with a disability, it is very important to be able to see what lies ahead, what happens when mom and dad are getting older, who can help us with that in our child's future, with anything that our child needs. We can give you referrals. We have a lot of training events like the one you're attending right now. Thank you. We also give you pre-employment guidance and transition guidance. So, you know, transition when they're going to be adults. So we just wanted to remind everybody that for any issue that you'd like to consult us, please, the first thing you can do is send us an email, call us, anybody that can answer the phone. We're not that many, but whoever answers the phone, we take in information, and we open a case in our system, and we try to, I don't know, give you guidance and help as best as we can. So please call us. You can call us, and anybody that answers will be able to take up the information and do it for you. All right, so I just wanted to remind everybody, and thank you, Boyd. Thank you, Inger, Judy, and everybody that's joined us.
Oh, and I forgot to say welcome to Leslie as well. She's
Leslie's here
very
too.
knowledgeable. I came onto a team of women. If I had known them 30 some years ago when my son was just a baby, I would be so smart right now. They teach me something every day, and I appreciate and I learn from them as much as I can to share with you guys. But I want to remind you guys that we do send this recording to you, but we do ask that you complete a survey. I will be sending the survey to everyone who enrolled and is attending today. I will send the survey out. Once you complete the survey, then I'll send you the recording as well as any information that we may be sharing with you today. All right, you're on.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending this seminar during your lunchtime, and hopefully you'll get some good information from it. Unfortunately, I have to tell you this disclaimer. This presentation does not create an attorney-client relationship. And also it's just general stuff. I have had presentations before where a lady has looked at it, and then she gave her other attorney a copy of the presentation and said that this is what Mr. Handley said, please do it. Each situation is unique, so please just take this as some good information. Tell you a little bit about myself. This is my second career. I was a geologist for 35 years, and about 15 years ago, I went back to get my law degree at night and kept it up for about 10 years. And then in 2015, I was laid off because they hired 3 kids where they were paying me. And so I started my practice in 2015. My wife and I have a wonderful daughter. She's 28 with special needs. And we have guardianship of her. So I understand what you as parents are going through. And I know when Inger mentioned that 30 years ago, that's about time we started working with our daughter. And of course, we didn't have the internet at that time. So, you know, it was my wife has a huge collection of books and It's very fortunate nowadays that the internet is available to everyone to at least start looking into issues with their kids with special needs or disabilities. My law firm, we do probate, estate planning, wills and trust. We do a lot of special needs planning, elder law contracts, do a lot of guardianships. I usually have about 15 or so guardianships going on all the time. A lot of special needs trust, living trust, real estate issues, and do a lot of work with SSI and Medicaid. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about the letter of intent. It's part of the special needs toolkit, which you as parents and providers and guardians should be aware of. You know, we definitely need our wills and our special needs trust, guardianships or alternatives guardianship. Very important to have your support team with you, whether they're a member, you know, whether they're one of the family to family advisors, or, you know, along with your attorneys, your financial advisors, your doctors, your therapists and things. But those are some of the things that you should think about. And the letter of intent is actually information from all of these different pieces of your toolkit. What is a letter of intent? Well, in general, it's a document that has crucial information about your loved one that you're going to pass to whoever are the future guardians or caretakers of your child with special needs or disabilities, or even if you've got minor child. If something happens to you while they're still minors, there's issues that someone may be taking over for you for your minor child until they turn 18. And it's just good to have all of this down. I know that when we were growing up, we had large families. Nowadays, you may not have large families, and or families are spread out all over the United States or even other countries. So it's actually good to have some sort of document that has everything together. I know when my parents passed away, even though I was on all their accounts, they did have a small document which had all the information on their bank accounts, life insurance policy and stuff, and it was very helpful. So even for children such as minors, some sort of letter or informational document is very important. Why do you need one? Well, it's going to be like a manual or blueprint. In our situation, my mother-in-law is the next successor guardian for my daughter, Caitlin. After that, it's her brother. And my mother-in-law is with her all the time, but her brother lives in Alabama. So they see each other very, not a lot. So it's even good to have information for them. Even myself, my wife has different duties for my daughter. She handles the SSI and Medicaid and physicians and stuff. And I don't even have all that information. So if something happened to my wife, Carrie, then this would be something that I would need to look at and go forward with my daughter. Getting started. Well, this is the hard part. It's almost like talking with someone to start a will. We're doing this in the event that we pass in an accident, or as we hopefully get very old in age and pass on at that point. But it's very emotional starting this. It's very overwhelming. You know, you as parents and myself as a parent of a child with special needs, there's so much going on. There's so much information out there. And I commend you today by being in this presentation to start learning more about what you need to do or think about. And especially that's one good thing about family to family, that, you know, they have a wealth of information, and their main goal is to help educate you and your children in order to go forward and understand everything that's available to you. So what I try to tell everyone is start with a small outline. We're going to give you some subjects to go forward with, but then just add to it. You can't do everything at once. This may take you a year to do, but at least start it and have someone know where this information will be located. What are some of the key elements? Well, contact information, the family members, medical, legal, medical information on what, and we'll go this into detail. Housing, of course, government benefits, your legal documents, your wills, your special needs trust, things of that nature. Work, what past jobs that they're done, schools, routine daily schedules. That's a huge one in ours. Behavioral management. Do they have any issues that the future guardian should know about? What do they like to do? Personal information on the individual. We have a huge section on this. Well, my wife does. She put it together. Beneficiary information, such as what's in your wills and trust. Your spiritual information on your child, what church or synagogue they go to, or things of that nature, and even burial arrangements, because in most cases, they're not going to know what they want in that situation. Well, we put together one a number of years ago. This is what our front of ours looks like with my daughter, Caitlin. My wife actually put this together herself. We've got over 70 pages of information in ours right now. And my wife updates this about every 6 months. Of course, if you look hard, there's 72920. So we're a little bit behind on ours. What are the contacts that you want to think about? Of course, family members, names, addresses, phone numbers, and how your child interacts with those. You know, with my daughter's brother, they both love each other very much, but they don't see each other often. Grandparents. My daughter calls her grandmother every night before she goes to bed. Have that information in there. Medical for sure, doctors, dentists, and physical or mental therapists. Friends, very important. You know, your guardian or caretaker, once you're gone, who are the people she hangs out with? You know, you don't want her to be hanging out with someone she's not supposed to. So it's very good to have this information with them. Also, you can contact them and if he or she is in situations where they need some friends to talk to them. So that's past and current school teachers, very important. Clergy, attorney, financial advisor, insurance agent, very important for that to know who they are, how to get in touch with them. And of course, you'll have this in your will and trust, but beneficiaries and future guardians, if that particular individual is not going to be a guardian for your child. Medical information, of course, I'm not going to go through all of this, but you know, just general information about your child, past surgeries or operations, what medical conditions, what are, you know, she has food allergies or allergic to medications, very important. And you can attach stuff like shot records. We've done that. We've got the COVID vaccine record attached to ours. Also, if family members have stuff like cancer survivor or diabetes or high blood pressure, that could be hereditary and not cancer, but some of those others could be hereditary. So it's very good to understand that. I know in my situation, I never took any medicine until I turned 50. Of course, I'm only 51 now, but you know, it may be where your children won't have any symptoms till later in life. So it's good to know that. And if you're not around, no one is going to know that information on you or your grandparents. Dental plans. Of course, if your child is on the SSI and Medicaid, they need to know that. Your pharmacy names and numbers, because some pharmacies do not take the Medicaid and they won't do that. Medical insurance cards, Medicaid cards, and supplemental insurance. A lot of you may be on Star Plus. So things like that. It's really general information, but you can miss some of this and you can probably add 10 more things to this, but this is something to get. What I really want to do from this presentation is get you thinking about things that you need to put in your book. And again, it's going to take a long time to put this down. So don't say, God, I've got to do it in the next couple of weeks. It's going to take you months. So just slowly start putting things together. Government benefits, very important. The name of the representative payee, probably you or your spouse. My wife is the representative payee for my daughter. And we have, of course, you have to have a separate account for that. Have your SSI and Medicaid numbers available. Hopefully you're on a waiver program. Have the number in your benefit person for Texana, which is Fort Bend and surrounding counties, or Harris Center for Harris counties. Even pass copies of applications to various things. My daughter has 5 jobs, part-time jobs. She works Mondays at Aspire. She works Tuesdays at a veterinarian clinic. Wednesdays and Thursdays, she's works at the Texana Cafe in Fulshire. And she works at Mattress Max Brookwood facility on 99 on Fridays, and works at Howdy Ice Cream on Saturdays. So very busy. And so some of those jobs she gets paid money for. And so my wife has to report that to Social Security each month. So things like that, which unless someone has a child with special needs, they will have no idea about how to do all of this or even think about it. So this is extremely critical, this particular document, for future guardians such as my son, for his sister, or even family members that do not understand what all we do as parents on a daily basis. Legal documents and information. Man, I could talk all day about this. So we're going to spend a little time on this. Be sure you have your wills. I don't want to talk with anyone that dies without a will, because it's a real pain to go forward with their probate. I'll give you some examples. We had a gentleman that passed. Well, I'm an attorney ad litem in a case right now where the mother has guardianship of the person of the young man. The father passed away about a year ago, and left his son, who's on SSI and Medicaid, a very large retirement fund. So now that mother is going through probate court in order to get guardianship of the estate for her son. If the father had mentioned as a beneficiary of the special needs trust, then all of this would be taken care of, and we wouldn't have to be going through guardianship of the estate. The problem nowadays with guardianship of the estate is that you have to file a financial report each year. An attorney has to do that. Whereas with letters of guardianship of the person, the guardian can file the annual reports, which we do as guardian, my daughter Caitlin, and then we can also order ourselves the letters of guardianship ourselves. Unfortunately, with guardianship of the estate, you have to hire an attorney or use the same attorney each year to file the financial report. And in a lot of situations, you have to get the court approval to spend money from the account of that person. So it's really a lot of issues if you have to go this route, where if you just understand to have your life insurance, your 401k, your wills, with the part of the assets going to your child with special needs or your disabled child that's on SSI and Medicaid, named the special needs trust. It just saves you a lot of headache for your executor or your future guardian looking after your child. Also in your wills, be sure you have the guardian name, a successor guardian. And if you have a will and that's not done, we can do a separate document. The way that works is that at your passing, your successor guardian will take your will along with your death certificate and go to probate court and get guardianship of your loved one. Be sure you have your third-party special needs trust set up. A third-party special needs trust is that assets from a third party going into the trust for your loved one. If your loved one gets as my previous example of the father leaving retirement fund to his son that's on SSI and Medicaid, then we'll have to move that to a first party special needs trust. There's the ABLE accounts that you need to have information on. If you're in the Texas Pool Trust account, have that written down with the way to go about getting funds from that, who to call and everything. If you've got a high functioning child, once they turn 18, you have a power of attorney, medical power of attorney, have that in the letter of intent, and of course the names of your attorneys. If you've gone through a divorce, which unfortunately is very high when families have children with special needs, be sure you have your divorce decree and the name of your family attorney, law attorney in the letter of intent. Also, you have to realize, as you probably know, if you're in a divorce situation, is that child support, if it comes to the Attorney General's office, once these kids turn 18, then that child support is viewed as income if it's coming through the Attorney General's office. So we always try to tell people that try to go back to family law court and get that child support directed after the age of 18 to a first party special needs trust. And then that way it doesn't count against their Social Security benefits. If you've got a caretaking agreement or driver's license or ID cards, definitely put those in your letter of intent. And I will say that my daughter, of course, does not drive, but she does have an ID card, and that's very helpful when you're going on trips. My daughter's going on a trip in the next month with her grandmother to up north to see some kin folks. So we're going to have a temporary guardianship letter attached, giving her the temporary guardianship for the time that she has my daughter on the trip. And of course, we've got copies of her ID card, Texas ID card, and other documents that are needed. So just things like that, which are very helpful. Current and past jobs. You may not think a lot about this, but it's very important, especially if you're down the road and applying for SSI and Medicaid. Having information like this is very important. I had a situation about 2 years ago where we had a young man that was already 24, and he had been denied a number of times on his application for SSI and Medicaid, and we were able to go back and take his current jobs and his past jobs, and he was one of those deals where you're very lucky to be let go from a number of jobs. But we went back and had those jobs documented on how his disability affected him losing his job. And so we were able to put that together, because once these kids turn 18, applying for SSI and Medicaid, SSI looks at how the disability affects what they call gainful employment. So we were able to go back to SSI and show them that based on this young man's disability, he was let go of a number of jobs. So we were able at age 24 to get his SSI and Medicaid back to when he turned 18. So it's very helpful. But having stuff with the jobs is very helpful for that particular situation. But even if your future guardian or caretaker will know what kind of jobs your daughter or son likes to do, what issues that they've had in those jobs, even traveling. Did they travel to those jobs in a car that they were driving? I do have some children under guardianship or young people under guardianship that kept the right to vote and the ability to get a driver's license if they pass. Or do they do the public transportation or Uber or something like that? What does the guardian need to know about how these kids get their jobs? And then the current jobs. My daughter has, I believe, 5. When does she go there? Who are their supervisors? What are the times? So it's very important for someone coming in just all of a sudden to have this information, and very important. So you may not think about why you want to put that, but those are some of the reasons that why you need these jobs, what she's done in the past or what she likes to do in the future. One thing, my daughter has some aspirations as what she wants to do in the future as far as how she's going to learn to do the cash register at Howdy's and things like that. So it's good to know that. And then, you know, you can work with our children to reach those goals. Go back to goals, you know, with our kids, you know, even the small goals are very important. So I always smile looking back at some of the things that Caitlin's done in the past. And, you know, we take those very small steps and get those big smiles on our face when they do that. Routines and daily schedules, extremely important. I think we have about 6 or 7 pages on this on Caitlin that my wife Carrie has put together. But you know, what do they do in the morning? How do they get up? How do they dress by themselves? Do they wash their face, brush their teeth? You know, what toothpaste they use? We have a certain toothpaste that we buy at the dentist, and I tried it the other day and it's bubble gum. I didn't know that. So, you know, things like that. Does she have an issue using the toothbrush? We're going through some trials and tribulations now where we're trying to teach our daughter how to properly do her teeth. Snack times. Do you have, you know, what times do they eat breakfast, lunch, and supper or dinner? However you want to say it. But, you know, maybe where these kids are in some very strict routines, or can we just go out to eat whenever we want to? Do we have to? I know when my daughter was younger, we would, and sometimes now we would have to let her know what's coming down the pipe. You know, if we make some major changes, well, we're going to do this on Tuesday. Maybe she wasn't used to doing that on Tuesday. She's about grown out of that now, but it's always good to let these kids know what's going on. Does she take any naps during the day? What is her nighttime routine? Because these kids a lot of times have to have rigid schedules, and you know, it's going to be bad enough when we're gone and someone is taken over. But if we can have as much information to those people that will start looking after our loved ones, the transition will be a lot easier. And then even what family members does she see? And my daughter does FaceTime with me right before she goes to bed, or calls her grandmother right before she goes to bed. So of course, FaceTime, she's upstairs in her bedroom and I'm downstairs. So life has really changed with time here. Financial information, very important. Of course, if your child's getting SSI, then one of you is going to be the representative payee. In my situation, it's my wife. She takes care of all that. I have no idea about much of that. So I would have to go to the letter of intent and get all that information from that. Trust accounts, names of your trustees, where your trusts are located, and the contacts with that. I know we've got a debit card on our first party trust. I think my wife has a debit card on the rep pay account. So all that's needed also. And then hopefully you have a financial advisor. I would suggest getting one that understands how to deal with kids down the road with special needs. You know, whether you're going to put them in a home or whether you want them to stay in your home when you're gone, and how much money it's going to cost to do that. I mean, I think it's extremely important, whether you're an old guy like me or a young guy with kids with special needs, is to talk to someone early and understand what money is needed to be stepped aside. I always say that there's my daughter, she's my lake house, but you know, that's just the way it goes. And we all understand that we'll do whatever it takes to take care of our loved ones. So definitely have all that information. Most cases, as I mentioned before, my parents had the financial stuff for me, and it was a lot easier at their passing to take care of that. Things such as retirement accounts, things such as life insurance policies, even your checking and savings accounts. Be sure you have a POD, which is payable on death, on those where they're outside of probate. And definitely have in your life insurance and your retirement funds, have the trust of your child with special needs name so they will not get money outright. Now, as I mentioned before, we can go back and get guardianship of the estate for the remaining parent. In my situation, I've got everything going to my wife, Carrie, and then to my daughter's special needs trust. My son doesn't need any money. He's getting all the antiques. So hopefully when I'm gone, he'll appreciate those antiques. But so, just get things like that done. The issues also, whether you've got a child with special needs or a minor, in Texas, minors cannot own property or have bank accounts without a custodian or adult with them. So, we do a lot of work in our wills where we have a contingent trust in it, or testamentary contingent trust. Testamentary trust is a trust in your will that does not become valid until you pass away. And so what that does, if you've got minor children, then those accounts can go to that trust, and you won't have the issue that the lady I told you about in probate court, where she's getting guardianship of her child. So things like that you can do now saves you a lot of headache down the road. Formats of letter of intent. Well, everyone says, well, use the template. Well, that's great. You can do that. You can purchase one, or you can download one from internet. You can just have a 3-ring binder. You can have a box with everything in it in your home. I know when my wife went to SSI, that was back 10 years ago, for my daughter, she walked into SSI with 3 large 3-ring binders. She had everything from maybe 2 or 3 years old to age 18. So with tabs on it. So, you may not be to that extreme, but, definitely have everything together, because that will make the person taken over for your loved one a lot easier. And just be creative. You can do it any way you want to. What we try to do with the templates is just to give you a starting point. I think with ours, we started out with about 20 pages, and now it's over 70. So it will be a living document. You'll keep adding to it. There's never a time where it's finished. And just be aware of that. Now, that may upset a lot of people, because I like to get things done and put on the bookshelf ready to go, but this is a living document. We call ours Caitlin 101 manual, but it's something that you'll change. Even the history, you may not change the history in it, but you'll add new things to it. So it's something that someone can come in and sit down for 30 minutes to an hour and know everything about your loved one. And especially when you're gone, it will help them to give love to your loved one in the time where they're grieving over their mom and dad that's gone. We've covered a lot of stuff. Of course, what we talked about today was the letter of intent in your special needs toolkit. Just be aware that you definitely need a will in Texas if you have a child with special needs. I will say that I had a situation the other day where we were probating a holographic will, which is a will written in the handwriting of the person and dated. Unfortunately, that particular will named the house to the 2 sons, and then there was a bank account that they didn't mention. And in our regular wills, we have a certain article in it that kind of everything that wasn't mentioned is thrown into the will, but this did not have that article in the holographic will. So we're having to go through a extra probate for that, just for that policy. So even though you can do holographic wills or may not think you need one, let an attorney do your wills for you, especially with a blended family. I've got a blended family. I've got a son from a previous marriage, of course, my daughter with Kira and myself, but that's very important. And then definitely if you've got a child with special needs, have someone that understands everything in order to draft everything up for you. Waiver list, we're going to talk a few minutes about that. I've talked to you about divorce with special needs, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a special needs timetable here in a moment. Interest list for the waiver program, we won't get on that, but Medicaid waivers, if you haven't signed up for that, give Family to Family a call and ask them about all of that. We see too many people and then the waiver program in Texas, sometimes it takes 15 to 20 years to get through the program. So very important. It gives you a lot of resources if you do get on this. So please give, you can call these phone numbers or give Family to Family. They'll be glad to help you in that process. These waiver programs are looked after by these particular establishments. If you're in Harris County, there's only one, the Harris Center. They'll look after that for you. If you're in Fort Bend or surrounding counties, it's the Texana Center. They do an excellent job. We moved about 3 miles a couple of years ago from Harris to Fort Bend County, and so we went from Harris to the Texana Center. We also had to move our guardianship. Guardianships are based on where the child lives. So if you change cities, well, if you change counties, you need to transfer your guardianship to that county. And I've done a couple of ones lately where we've had families from out of state move to Texas, and we've transferred their guardianships from another state. If you live in Liberty, Montgomery, or Walker County, it's the Tri-County behavior done by the Gulf Coast Center. I'm not sure how Texana does it, but they've got quite a few counties. But I have to say, from a personal standpoint, Texana does an excellent job with Caitlin. They actually meet with my wife and Caitlin. I try when I can once a month to see how Caitlin's doing and how it's going on. And so I have nothing but good things to say about Texana. And of course, the Harris Center treated us very well when we were with them. We put this together for my daughter, Caitlin. We tried to, I won't go over this, but you can look at it from some of the things you need to talk about from birth to age 18. And then we've got, of course, everything changes at age 18. Your child becomes an adult in Texas. Everything that we were doing when they were 17, we can't do anymore when they're 18 because they're an adult, so they have rights. So at that point, you either go the route of guardianship, which can be full or partial. And then when you have a partial guardianship, you can pick and choose which rights you're taking away from your child. And basically, the way I look at this is that we're trying to protect them from the world. It's almost like an elderly person being taken advantage of. Once your child turns 18, they're an adult. They can sign contracts. They can give money away, or if someone can walk up to them and say, hey, we've got this car for you to buy, and they'll sign a contract, and then they're liable for that. So it's very important to understand whether a alternative to guardianship, such as power of attorney, medical power of attorney, supported decision-making agreement is the way to go, or whether guardianship. Now, a lot of our kids, once they turn 18, are not mature yet. So you can get a partial guardianship, and then in 3 or 4 years, you can go back to court and give those rights back to your child. So, I just want everyone to know that it's not permanent if it doesn't have to be. One thing about the power of attorney and medical power of attorney, if your child wakes up one morning and you feel that guardianship's not needed, and they do that once they turn 18. And if your child wakes up one morning and they're mad at mom and dad, and you have a power of attorney, medical power of attorney on them, if they tell the right people, those two documents go away. So just keep in mind, I know I have a lot of clients with kids with fetal alcohol syndrome, which is a situation where the mom was drinking during gestation, and once these kids grow up, they have a lot of anger issues. So I tell parents with these kids with fetal alcohol syndrome, you may want to consider a partial guardianship, even though they may be high functioning, due to the point that with their anger issues, these power of attorneys and medical power of attorneys can go away overnight. Also tell parents, and we're getting close to time, so I want to get some questions, but also tell parents is that even on your parents, if you're lucky enough that your parents are still living, be sure that you have a power of attorney and medical power of attorney on them, because if they become incapacitated or get dementia or something like that, and you don't have that on them, the only way you can look after your parents in Texas is get guardianship of them. And in most cases, it's going to be guardianship of the person, the estate. So keep that in mind. Also, if you've got kids going off to college, be sure you have a power of attorney and medical power of attorney on them. If for some reason you don't, and they get into an accident and get put into a hospital coming or going from college, then you can't call a hospital and check on them because they're adults if they're over the age of 18. So that's very important. Things to think about. Living trust keeps your assets out of probate, and then you can name whoever you want to as beneficiaries. Right of survivorships, if one of your spouses dies, Texas is community property state. So regardless of whether you like it or not, each spouse in most cases has 50% interest in your home. If one dies without this right of survivorship, then you've got to go through probate to get the remaining 50%. So a lot easier to do this now. We talked about beneficiaries named in the life insurance or retirement accounts. Be sure that if you've got a child with special needs, have that go into a trust. We talked about payable on death on bank accounts. And then the houses, if you don't have it in a trust, you can do something called a transfer on death deed or ladybird deed that transfers your interest to a special needs trust or to a loved one, and that keeps your house out of probate at your death. So little things like that, which are very easy to do now, really saves you a lot of time and headache down the road, or your executor down the road. Thank you for your time. This is the team Handley. We go through a lot of resource fairs. Prior to my daughter working all the time, she used to go with us on weekends. There's my wife to the left, Carrie, and my daughter, Caitlin. I've got a great story, and it was at Family to Family conference we had a number of years ago before COVID hit. We were extremely busy. I think this was actually there. And my wife and I were talking to potential clients on one side, and then we turned around and my daughter was on the other end of the table talking to someone saying, well, you need a will, you need a special needs trust. And we were like going, oh my goodness. But she was saying exactly what she was supposed to say. So you never know what these kids are hearing and understanding. And we always like to have Caitlin there because she's mature so much for a young lady, is doing extremely well in her job. So we always like to show parents that maybe have smaller kids that have disabilities, that as these kids grow up, they'll learn to deal with their disabilities and flourish and as a young person in everyday society. But thank you very much for spending this time with me, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you. You did a wonderful job. And I want to say to everyone, we're going to open it up. If you didn't hear your question answered, you can go ahead and unmute and you can ask your question. Now, we may not be able to answer everybody's question, but if not, put it in the chat box and we'll get your questions answered.
Hi, so we had a question on supported decision-making or decision-making agreements.
Yeah.
And can you describe those? We're not really clear on what those are and how those work.
Sure. Their agreement that took place, the legislator passed that, I believe it was 2015, and it's a between guardianship and power of attorney, medical power of attorney. A lot of families do not have the financial resources to file for guardianship, or their child is not quite ready to sign a power of attorney and medical power of attorney. Power of attorney and medical power of attorney, you have to have the ability to understand what you're signing. And it's a legal document. You have to have capacity. The decision-making agreements, they left that capacity issue out of it. So it's a gray area that you may have a individual that cannot sign a power of attorney, but they can sign that because they really, by law, it doesn't say that they really need to understand what is they're signing. But what that document does is that it allows you as the parents, if you don't have guardianship, to sit in on meetings with your loved ones, whether it's the ARG meeting at school, whether it's with the doctor or whatnot, and explain to your loved one what the meeting's about. Now, what it does not do, even though it says decision-making agreement, you cannot make the decision for your child. Your child or young adult has to make that decision, but that kind of gives you a way to sit in on the meetings of your child. And that's the only thing that that document does. Now, I don't do those. What I'll do, I'll give you the ARC of Texas has a great one that they give out, and that's normally what I give out to parents, but I don't do those. I haven't heard anything from clients that they don't work, but I can't guarantee you that works, but it's kind of a good Band-Aid to use.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to say really quick that we do have some small groups that we share information from the ARC, as well as Charting the Life course, and it helps you. We have this program. This training is is included in that program, that project that we have, that you can come online, you get hands-on, and you meet with us 3 times in a month, and we share all of that document. We help you start putting those documents together. Roy talked about a lot of the forms that we do have, and we can share those with you, and we can show you exactly how to put a portfolio together of all that information, because as he said, it is so important when you lose a loved one, and that you're not wanting and saying, okay, questioning what they would have wanted. It's so heartening if you can just focus on what they've already put in front of you. And it's just a guide. It's a trajectory of how they wanted for their loved one, or what they wanted you to do after their passing. So it's so important. So if you have an opportunity, log on, register for one of our small groups, and we can even start your family with a small group. And you could be 6 to 15 people, and we can come on, and the people that is taking care or supporting the person that you have the disability with, or even for yourself, it's just information that we share with you. You get to talk, you hear information about so many things. We are not experts in everything, and we don't claim to be, but there are some parents that have had situations that they share that information with you, and that can be very helpful. So if you ever have an opportunity, please go on to one of our small groups, and it's just 3 times that you meet, and you get a lot of documents to help you to start planning for the future. And one more thing, and this is something new, guys, it's exciting. We are going to be working with Mass Mutual they have 10 slots, free initial consulting. And so if you're interested in that, if you haven't gotten started with financial and planning for the future, go ahead and give us a call, and we'll, as long as the slots last, you're welcome. And we also have one more slot. I don't know if you guys, and this is a very important thing too, when you're planning for the future, setting up a network. And this network means that you have people that are going to be supporting you. And Boyd said it's so, I mean, the information, how he laid it out, what you need to have and what people need to know going forward when you're working with a person with a disability. It is so important if you know their doctor appointments, you know what medication they take. So all of that is shared in that networking with that group. And it can be your family members, your neighbors, your coworkers. You never know unless you ask who is willing to become a support person in that person's life with a disability. So give us a call. We'll give you all of that information, and everything is free.
I think Jerry Barnes has a question.
Okay,
Yes.
Gary. Okay.
It's Jerry. I already have a will that was made about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm raising my granddaughter.
Mhm.
She's 11, very severely autistic. But I need to change practically everything in the will. Would you recommend? I mean, I'm so impressed by your presentation. I'd like to come to you. But would it be better to stay with the attorney who already prepared it, or should I shift?
Either way, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can, of course, do an entirely new will, but you can also do a codicil to the will. And what that is an attachment to the will, and just changing the things that you need changed on the will. You know, I can do that for you, or you can, if you're comfortable with the attorney that did it for you, then by all means, go back to them. But that's something I do quite often, is doing codicils to the wills. And if your original attorney does not understand your granddaughter with special needs, that, you know, you need to be sure that he or she understands that.
It was Lisa Wilson.
Hi, Lisa.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Boyd, when somebody becomes, like, if I die and I'm my son's guardian, legal guardian, and I have a successor guardian lined up, do they have to go through the whole process that I went through?
Yeah, unfortunately they do. Normally what happens in our situation, we have the successor guardians named in our will, or if you have a will, you can do a separate document. And what we'll do, and I've done a couple of these, is that the successor guardian will take your will or your separate guardian piece of paper naming you as guardian, along with your death certificate, and they'll go to the probate court and go through the same procedure. What we'll do is that they'll get a temporary guardianship over your loved one until the guardianship process goes through. And nowadays it usually takes, I think the quickest I've done was 36 days, but that's a rarity. Usually it takes about 70 to 120 days from start to finish for a guardianship.
And do they have to, does the individual have to have an ad litem attorney, and do you have to pay all of the fees over again?
Yeah, it's all from start to finish. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the only difference that you don't need to pay all those funds is if someone's moving out of state to Texas, then we go through the guardianship process, but they don't have to hire an attorney ad litem. And then if you're moving from one county to the other, normally we can do that with a few documents. So it's very inexpensive for that. I know when we moved from Harris to Fort Bend County, we didn't have to pay anything on that. Usually there's a fee in the court, but the attorney that we used was able to get that dismissed. So.
Okay. I think Miss Fanny had a question as well. Would you like to unmute? She said, I think she left us a message.
Yeah, I think Carrie answered her that to call them directly. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, there was somebody, Anger, was asking a little bit more about the Mass Mutual offering. So they want to know what it is about. Maybe they didn't catch it.
Yeah, well, what we do is it's an initial meeting with them. There's a special care team that they have there, and they're going to give you an initial meeting for free. And I can give you more information about that. Give me a call, email me, and I'll send you direct all of the information, because we're still working it out with them, but we want to go ahead and sign up people so they're ready to go as soon as they're ready to get it started. And we're looking as soon as tomorrow.
Right,
So
and it's
please,
about financial planning.
yes.
That's what they work with. For the
So
future.
please give us a call and I'll give you all of that information, the contact person, who you'll be working with, all of that. So yeah, it's a lot to say on this call. So we're going to go ahead and just, give us send me an email and I'll send that information back to you. Thank you so much for asking. Anyone else?
I believe that was it. So, but please don't stay with any doubts. Call us or send us an email, and we'll be glad to answer anything or refer you to who can answer better.
Yes, we are here. We always say when we talk about a network, we are your network. We work in supporting you it's always good. If you think you have a concern, go ahead and be proactive about it, because if when you're on the back end and it's already getting started, it's kind of difficult to go backwards. So if you even think that you're going to have a concern about something, you have a question, go ahead and ask, give us a call. And if we do, as Christina said, we may not have all of your answers, but we will get you the answer that you will need to be successful, because it's all about those individuals with a disability being successful for the future. So any more questions?
No more, and it's exactly 1 o'clock.
Wow, guys, we're going to keep you. We're going to be a good steward of your time, and we're going to let you go. But just remember, check our website out. Everything is always online. If you want to register for any class, you have any questions, go ahead and give us a call. Thank you, Boyd, for being with us today. And you have given us so much to think about and so much information. And thank you again for coming. And we will see you next time, next month as well. You'll be with us doing Special Needs Trust, I believe.
Yeah.
It is, yes. So we'll see him again. So he'll have more information to share with you. And again, have a wonderful evening. And thank you for coming and being a part of this.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Boyd.
guys.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Carrie.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
you.
Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you.